The pasta I'm about to make is literally the one that blew up my internet world. So it's had 6 million views, it's been featured by Bon Appetit in the US, and it's one that I just love to make because it takes Italian techniques but fuses them with ingredients that speak to me. So we're revisiting it today, but I'm gonna make the pasta from scratch, which I also love to do. So this is the way I have always made pasta at home. There are lots of different ways to make pasta, but I think it's all about ratios, it's about the flour, and it's also about your rolling technique. So we're gonna do all of that. But my ratio is very simple. I start off with 00 flour. Now you probably have heard of 00 flour. It is typically used for pasta or pizza if you are in Italy. It's a very fine, powdery kind of flour. It has a high gluten content. It kind of makes your pasta really snappy. Got a lot of elasticity to the dough when you use this type of flour. But you know what? You can just use plain all-purpose flour as well. So I go in here with 500 grams typically, and then I do 1 egg per 100 grams. There are lots of different ratios about where you just use egg yolk, you use a combination of egg and egg yolk. Oh, whoops, look at that. You don't want the shell though, that's what you don't want. But I always think, I just like to use the whole egg because otherwise I have egg whites that I intend on using for meringues and all sorts of fancy things, and then I never do. So the whole egg for me. And then just start mixing this in. You'll see a lot of fancy chefs doing this straight on the bench top with the mound of flour. But I find the egg runs away from me. I'm not that coordinated, so I like to start this in a bowl. Now, once you kind of get to this bitsy kind of stage, just pull your fork out, and now we can get everything onto the bench top and just kind of start smushing it together. I love this process. It kind of starts out looking like it's too dry, but it miraculously comes together in the end. So you want to keep working this dough. You can see it's starting to come together now. And the idea is that you shouldn't really have much flour left on your bench top. It should be starting to sort of incorporate into that dough. It's looking good. Okay. I'm going to wrap this up, and that dough needs at least 30 minutes to rest in the fridge. So I have my dough, it's beautifully rested. Now we're gonna do the rolling. There's my dough. It's a lot stickier, a lot softer than the last time we saw it. And I like to get myself a nice mound of flour here that I'm gonna use as I roll it out. And then divide this dough up. See how beautiful and smooth that dough is on the inside there? I always like to keep my pasta dough covered because I think it can dry out. One piece of dough here, a little bit of flour. Pressing it out, so we're at the widest setting. Then you fold, go back through, same setting, and you just keep doing that like 4, 5 times, 6 times. The kind of fancy name for this is laminating. So if you were here with me, you would be able to feel the pasta starting to evolve. So it's becoming really smooth. It's almost got like a baby's bum kind of texture. So now that I've done my laminating, I've folded it in half. I'm gonna pass it through here, go up to the next click, run it through again. And what I'm trying to do here is get a really nice uniform rectangular shape. So back up to number 1. So I'm gonna keep going now and just keep increasing the clicks. I'm just gonna put a little bit of flour on here. You don't want too much flour, but I just wanna make sure the pasta doesn't stick. Okay, so here we are with a very beautiful sheet of pasta. I like to let it dry a little first. So I'm just gonna place it onto a chair here, just lined with a tea towel, and let that dry while I finish rolling. All right, so we have our lovely sheets of pasta. Oh, it's so satisfying making this from scratch now. Okay, so I take my sheet of pasta that's had its time to dry just a little bit. And here we go, that's our fettuccine. Look at that. Now see how that has a really lovely, almost a little bit dried texture? That really is the key here. If your pasta is too wet when you roll it through here, it kind of all clumps together. So that's one of my key tips here. And you kind of want to spread it out a little in nice little clumps, again, just letting it dry out a little bit so that it doesn't sort of stick together. One of the amazing things about fresh pasta like we've just made is that you can keep the sauce really simple, because then you've got the pasta really the star of the show. And I think my garlic butter pasta situation is the perfect thing for this. But today I'm actually going to add some tomatoes. So the reason why I came up with the whole soy sauce, oyster sauce, butter, garlic situation in the first place is that all those ingredients are about umami. So that like salty, savory kind of flavor. And that also applies to Parmesan cheese. So it's all the same kind of vibe, if you know what I mean. And tomatoes, they also carry a lot of that umami, savory flavor when they're cooked, particularly in butter and olive oil and salt, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here, guys. And tomatoes love salt, and they particularly love salt when you pre-salt them. So it's almost like you brine the tomatoes before you actually use them. The sweetness comes out and you just get a much better flavor. So while you're waiting for the pan to heat up, salt those tomatoes. I'm gonna start off with some olive oil here and some butter, because this is garlic butter flavored pasta after all. Oh, that sizzles so nice. Okay, I'm gonna throw my garlic straight in there even while the butter is still melting. So don't want that garlic or the butter to burn. So add them in at once. A little chili powder. Something about garlic when it hits the pan with the butter and the oil, so good. Okay, tomatoes are gonna go in here too. And I just want those tomatoes to kind of soften. I don't want them too, I don't know, cooked down and intense. I want to retain some of their freshness. So I'm just going to keep them spinning around in here a little longer. And so as someone who grew up in a half Asian household, my mum's Thai, my dad's Australian, and also my mum was living in a new Western country when I was little, so she was just kind of finding her way with her own flavors in a new place. So things like pasta or like roast lamb or roast chicken or bolognese had kind of like a little bit of an Asian flavor. My mum would use soy sauce or fish sauce instead of salt.
Mum style.
Yeah, mum style, that's right.
Very tasty.
You know, she would add curry paste to her roast chicken. Just, you know, little things like that. And to me, those flavors kind of make sense, I guess. Some people would call it fusion. I just call it delicious. Now, again, this is smelling amazing. And what's happening here is we've just got a whole lot of ingredients that are all about umami, savory flavors, and they're all just making friends in here. That is so good. It's almost like the oyster sauce and the soy sauce sets off the sweetness of the tomatoes. So yum. All right, I'm gonna turn that off because now I want to concentrate on my pasta. To cook the pasta, you need a pot of boiling water, add in some salt, and then add your fresh pasta. Now, fresh pasta does not take long, like 2 to 3 minutes maximum, and then use a cup to scoop out some of that pasta cooking liquid, set that aside, and get that pasta straight into your pan. And now this is where the magic happens, my friends. I'm just gonna pour a little bit of that pasta water in there. So we just mix and toss everything around. The sauce will emulsify around each of those pasta strands and almost become creamy, but without the cream, you know what I mean? It's that silky texture that happens when fat and pasta water and pasta meet. Okay, so check out that pasta. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Oh, those silky strands. Okay, so that is just looking so glorious. A little bit more olive oil, a little sprinkling of spring onion, and cheese. I like a lot of cheese, so I'm going in with a lot of cheese here. little dash of some chili flakes on top. And that, my friends, is a new revisited version of my pasta that blew up my internet world. Oh, it's so good. The texture of that fresh pasta is amazing, but like the flavor of the tomato and those, you know, little ingredients like the soy sauce, the oyster sauce, it just tastes right. Oh, so good.